Chapter 6: Practical Techniques in Mental Healings. An engineer has a technique and a process for building a bridge or an engine. Like the engineer, your mind also has a technique for governing, controlling, and directing your life. You must realize that methods and techniques are primary. In building the Golden Gate Bridge, the chief engineer understood mathematical principles, stresses, and strains. Secondly, he had a picture of the ideal bridge across the bay. The third step was his application of tried and proven methods by which the principles were implemented until the bridge took form and we drive on it. There also are techniques and methods by which your prayers are answered. If your prayer is answered, there is a way in which it is answered, and this is a scientific way. Nothing happens by chance. This is a world of law and order. In this chapter, you will find practical techniques for the unfolding and nurture of your spiritual life. Your prayers must not remain up in the air like a balloon. They must go somewhere and accomplish something in your life. When we come to analyze prayer, we discover there are many different approaches and methods. We will not consider in this book the formal, ritual prayers used in religious services. These have an important place in group worship. We are immediately concerned with the methods of personal prayer, as it is applied in your daily life, and as it is used to help others. Prayer is the formulation of an idea concerning something we wish to accomplish. Prayer is the soul's sincere desire. Your desire is your prayer. It comes out of your deepest needs, and it reveals the things you want in life. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. That is really prayer, life's hunger and thirst for peace, harmony, health, joy, and all the other blessings of life. The passing over technique for impregnating the subconscious. This technique consists essentially in inducing the subconscious mind to take over your request, as handed to it by the conscious mind. This passing over is best accomplished in a reverie-like state. Know that in your deeper mind resides infinite intelligence and infinite power. Just calmly think over what you want. See it coming into fuller fruition from this moment forward. Be like the little girl who had a very bad cough and a sore throat. She declared firmly and repeatedly, "It is passing away now. It is passing away now." It passed away in about an hour. Use this technique with complete simplicity and naivete. Your subconscious will accept your blueprint. If you were building a new home for yourself and your family, you would be intensely interested in the blueprint for your home. You would ensure that the builders conform to the blueprint. You would watch the material and select only the best wood, steel. In fact, the best of everything. What about your mental home and your mental blueprint for happiness and abundance? All your experiences and everything that enters into your life depend upon the nature of the mental building blocks you use in the construction of your mental home. If your blueprint is full of mental patterns of fear, worry, anxiety, or lack, and if you're despondent, doubtful, and cynical, then the texture of the mental material you are weaving into your mind will manifest as more toil, care, tension, anxiety, and limitations of all kinds. The most fundamental and far-reaching activity in life is that which you build into your mentality every waking hour. Your word is silent and invisible. Nevertheless, it is real. You are building your mental home all the time, and your thoughts and mental imagery represent your blueprint. Hour by hour, moment by moment, you can build radiant health, success, and happiness by the thoughts you think, the ideas you harbor, the beliefs you accept, and the scenes you rehearse in the hidden studio of your mind. This stately mansion, upon which you are perpetually engaged in construction, is your personality, your identity in this plane, your whole life story on this earth. Get a new blueprint. Build silently by realizing peace, harmony, joy, and goodwill in the present moment. By dwelling upon these things and claiming them, your subconscious will accept your blueprint and bring all these things to pass. By their fruits ye shall know them. The science and art of true prayer. The term science means knowledge that is coordinated, arranged, and systematized. Let us think of the science and art of true prayer as it deals with the fundamental principles of life and the techniques and processes by which they can be demonstrated in your life, as well as in the life of every human being when applied faithfully. The art is your technique or process, and the science behind it is the definite response of the creative mind to your mental picture or thought. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Matthew 7:7. Here you are told that you shall receive that for which you ask. It shall be opened to you when you knock, and you shall find that for which you are searching. This teaching implies the definiteness of mental and spiritual laws. There is always a direct response from the infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind to your conscious thinking. If you ask for bread, you will not receive a stone. You must ask believing if you are to receive. Your mind moves from the thought to the thing. Unless there is first an image in the mind, it cannot move, for there would be nothing for it to move toward. Your prayer, which is your mental act, must be accepted as an image in your mind before the power from your subconscious will play upon it and make it productive. You must reach a point of acceptance in your mind, an unqualified and undisputed state of agreement. This contemplation should be accompanied by a feeling of joy and restfulness in foreseeing the certain accomplishment of your desire. The sound basis for the art and science of true prayer is your knowledge and complete confidence that the movement of your conscious mind will gain a definite response from your subconscious mind, which is one with boundless wisdom and infinite power. By following this procedure, your prayers will be answered. The visualization technique. The easiest and most obvious way to formulate an idea is to visualize it, to see it in your mind's eye as vividly as if it were alive. You can see with the naked eye only what already exists in the external world. In a similar way, that which you can visualize in your mind's eye already exists in the invisible realms of your mind. Any picture which you have in your mind is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. What you form in your imagination is as real as any part of your body. The idea and the thought are real and will one day appear in your objective world if you are faithful to your mental image. This process of thinking forms impressions in your mind. These impressions, in turn, become manifested as facts and experiences in your life. The builder visualizes the type of building he wants. He sees it as he desires it to be completed. His imagery and thought processes become a plastic mold from which the building will emerge, whether a beautiful or an ugly one, a skyscraper or a very low one. His mental imagery is projected as it is drawn on paper. Eventually, the contractor and his workers gather the essential materials, and the building progresses until it stands finished, conforming perfectly to the mental patterns of the architect. I use the visualization technique prior to speaking from the platform. I quiet the wheels of my mind in order to present to the subconscious mind my images of thought. Then, I picture the entire auditorium with seats filled with men and women, each one illumined and inspired by the infinite healing presence within. I see them as radiant, happy, and free. Having first built up the idea in my imagination, I quietly sustain it there as a mental picture while I imagine hearing men and women saying, "I am healed, I feel wonderful, I've had an instantaneous healing, I'm transformed." I keep this up for about 10 minutes or more, knowing and feeling that each person's mind and body are saturated with love, wholeness, beauty, and perfection. Mental movie method. The Chinese say, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." William James, the father of American psychology, stressed that the subconscious mind will bring to pass any picture held in the mind and backed by faith. Act as though I am, and I will be. A number of years ago, I was in the Midwest lecturing in several states, and I desired to have a permanent location in the general area from which I could serve those who desired help. I traveled far, but the desire did not leave my mind. One evening, while in a hotel in Spokane, Washington, I relaxed completely on a couch, immobilized my attention, and in a quiet, passive manner, imagined that I was talking to a large audience, saying in effect, "I am glad to be here. I have prayed for the ideal opportunity." I saw in my mind's eye the imaginary audience, and I felt the reality of it all. I played the role of the actor, dramatized this mental movie, and felt satisfied that this picture was being conveyed to my subconscious mind, which would bring it to pass in its own way. The next morning, upon awakening, I felt a great sense of peace and satisfaction. A few days later, I received a telegram asking me to take over an organization in the Midwest, which I did, and I enjoyed it immensely for several years. The method outlined here appeals to many who have described it as the mental movie method. I have received numerous letters from people who listen to my radio, talks, and weekly public lectures, telling me of the wonderful results they achieve using this technique in the sale of their property. I suggest to those who have homes or property for sale that they first satisfy themselves in their own mind that their price is right. Then they should imagine the perfect buyer, someone who wants to have the property and who will prosper in it. After doing this, I suggest that they quiet their mind, relax, let go, and get into a drowsy, sleepy state, which reduces all mental effort to a minimum. Then they are to picture the check in their hands. Rejoice in the check, give thanks for the check, and go off to sleep feeling the naturalness of the whole mental movie, created in their own mind. They must act as though it were an objective reality, and the subconscious mind will take it as an impression. Through the deeper currents of the mind, the buyer and the seller are brought together. A mental picture held in the mind, backed by faith, will come to pass. The Baudouin Technique. Charles Baudouin was a professor at the Rousseau Institute in France. He was a brilliant psychotherapist and a research director of the New Nancy School of Healing. In 1910, he taught that the best way to impress the subconscious mind was to enter into a drowsy, sleepy state, or a state akin to sleep, in which all effort was reduced to a minimum. Then, in a quiet, passive, and receptive way, by reflection, he would convey the idea to the subconscious. The following is his formula, a very simple way of securing this. Impregnation of the subconscious mind is to condense the idea which is to be the object of suggestion, to sum it up in a brief phrase which can be readily graven on the memory, and to repeat it over and over again as a lullaby. Some years ago, a young lady in Los Angeles was engaged in a prolonged, bitter family lawsuit over a will. Her husband had bequeathed his entire estate to her, and his sons and daughters by a previous marriage were bitterly fighting to break the will. The Baudouin technique was outlined to her, and this is what she did. She relaxed her body in an armchair, entered into the sleepy state, and, as suggested, condensed the idea of her need into a phrase consisting of 6 words, easily graven on the memory. It is finished in divine order. The significance to her of these words meant that infinite intelligence operating through the laws of her subconscious mind would bring about a harmonious adjustment through the principle of harmony. She continued this procedure every night for about 10 nights. After she got into a sleepy state, she would affirm slowly, quietly, and feelingly the statement, "It is finished in divine order," over and over again, feeling a sense of inner peace and an all-pervading tranquility. Then she went off into her deep, normal sleep. On the morning of the 11th day, following the use of the above technique, she awakened with a sense of well-being and a conviction that it was finished. Her attorney called her the same day, saying that the opposing attorney and his clients were willing to settle. A harmonious agreement was reached, and litigation was discontinued. The sleeping technique. By entering into a sleepy, drowsy state, effort is reduced to a minimum. The conscious mind is submerged to a great extent when in a sleepy state. The reason for this is that the highest degree of outcropping of the subconscious occurs prior to sleep and just after we awaken. In this state, the negative thoughts, which tend to neutralize your desire and so prevent acceptance by your subconscious mind, are no longer present. Suppose you want to get rid of a destructive habit. The sleeping technique. Assume a comfortable posture, relax your body, and be still. Get into a sleepy state, and in that sleepy state, say quietly, over and over again as a lullaby, "I am completely free from this habit. Harmony and peace of mind reign supreme." Repeat this slowly, quietly, and lovingly for 5 or 10 minutes, night and morning. Each time you repeat the words, the emotional value becomes greater. When the urge comes to repeat the negative habit, repeat the above formula out loud by yourself. By this means, you induce the subconscious to accept the idea and healing follows. The thank you technique. In the Bible, Paul recommends that we make known our requests with praise and thanksgiving. Some extraordinary results follow this simple method of prayer. The thankful heart is always close to the creative forces of the universe, causing countless blessings to flow toward it by the law of reciprocal relationship, based on a cosmic law of action and reaction. For instance, a father promises his son a car for graduation. Although the boy has not yet received the car, he is very thankful and happy, as joyous as though he had actually received it. He knows his father will fulfill his promise, and he is full of gratitude and joy, even though he has not yet received the car objectively. He has, however, received it with joy and thankfulness in his mind. I shall illustrate how Mr. Broke applied this technique with excellent results. He said, "Bills are piling up. I am out of work. I have 3 children and no money. What shall I do?" Regularly, every night and morning, for a period of about 3 weeks, he repeated the words, "Thank you, Father, for my wealth," in a relaxed, peaceful manner until the feeling or mood of thankfulness dominated his mind. He imagined he was addressing the infinite power and intelligence within him, knowing, of course, that he could not see the creative intelligence or infinite mind. He was seeing with the inner eye of spiritual perception, realizing that his thought image of wealth was the first cause relative to the money, position, and food he needed. His thought feeling was the substance of wealth, untrammeled by antecedent conditions of any kind. By repeating, "Thank you, Father," over and over again, his mind and heart were lifted up to the point of acceptance. When fear, thoughts of lack, poverty, and distress came into his mind, he would say, "Thank you, Father," as often as necessary. He knew that as he maintained the thankful attitude, he would recondition his mind to the idea of wealth, which is what happened. The sequel to his prayer is very interesting. After praying in the aforementioned manner, he met a former employer on the street whom he had not seen for 20 years. The man offered him a very lucrative position and advanced him $500 on a temporary loan. Today, Mr. Broke is vice president of the company for which he works. His recent remark to me was, "I shall never forget the wonders of thank you, Father. It has worked wonders for me." The affirmative method. The effectiveness of an affirmation is largely determined by your understanding of the truth and the meaning behind the words. In praying, use not vain repetition. Therefore, the power of your affirmation lies in the intelligent application of definite and specific positives. For example, if a boy adds 3 and 3 and writes 7 on the blackboard, the teacher, with mathematical certainty, states that 3 and 3 are 6. This statement does not make 3 and 3 equal 6, because the latter is already a mathematical truth. Instead, the mathematical truth causes the boy to correct his figures. Similarly, it is abnormal to be sick. It is normal to be healthy. Health is the truth of your being. When you affirm health, harmony, and peace for yourself or another, and when you realize that these are universal principles of your own being, you will rearrange the negative patterns of your subconscious mind based on your faith and understanding of what you affirm. The result of the affirmative process of prayer depends on your conforming to the principles of life. Regardless of appearances, consider that there is a principle of mathematics with no error, a principle of truth with no dishonesty, a principle of intelligence with no ignorance, a principle of harmony with no discord, a principle of health with no disease, and a principle of abundance with no poverty. The affirmative method was chosen by the author to help his sister, who was to undergo surgery for the removal of gallstones in a hospital in England. The condition described was based on the diagnosis from hospital tests and X-ray procedures. Despite being geographically separated by about 6,500 miles, there is no time or space in the mind principle. Infinite mind or intelligence is present in its entirety at every point simultaneously. The author withdrew all thoughts from the contemplation of symptoms and the corporeal personality altogether. He affirmed as follows: "This prayer is for my sister Catherine. She is relaxed and at peace, poised, balanced, serene, and calm. The healing intelligence of her subconscious mind, which created her body, is now transforming every cell, nerve, tissue, muscle, and bone of her being according to the perfect pattern of all organs. Lodged in her subconscious mind, silently and quietly, all distorted thought patterns in her subconscious mind are removed and dissolved, and the vitality, wholeness, and beauty of the life principle are made manifest in every atom of her being. She is now open and receptive to the healing, currents flowing through her like a river, restoring her to perfect health, harmony, and peace. All distortions and ugly images are now washed away by the infinite ocean of love and peace flowing through her. And it is so. The author affirmed this several times a day, and after 2 weeks, his sister's examination showed a remarkable healing, with the X-ray proving negative. To affirm is to state that it is so, and as you maintain this attitude of mind is true, regardless of all evidence to the contrary, you will receive an answer to your prayer. Your thought can only affirm, for even if you deny something, you are actually affirming the presence of what you deny. Repeating an affirmation, knowing what you are saying and why you are saying it, leads the mind to a state of consciousness where it accepts that what you state is true. Keep on affirming the truths of life until you get the subconscious reaction which satisfies. The argumentative method. The argumentative method, as implied by its name, involves using reason and spiritual reasoning to address sickness. This method stems from the practices of Dr. Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, a pioneer in mental and spiritual healing who lived and practiced in Belfast, Maine about 100 years ago. Quimby's techniques are documented in the Quimby Manuscripts, a book published in 1921 by Thomas Y. Crowell Company and edited by Horatio Dresser. This book includes newspaper accounts of Quimby's remarkable results in prayer treatment of the sick, illustrating that he duplicated many of the healing miracles recorded in the Bible. In brief, the argumentative method, according to Quimby, involves convincing both the patient and oneself that illness is a result of false beliefs, groundless fears, and negative patterns lodged in the subconscious mind. The method relies on reasoning that the disease or ailment is merely a distorted thought pattern that has manifested in the body. By changing these thought patterns, the sickness can be transformed. To use this method, you first explain to the sick person that the basis of all healing is a change of belief. You emphasize that the subconscious mind, which created the body and all its organs, has the inherent knowledge and power to heal it. This healing is ongoing as you speak. You argue within the courtroom of your mind that the disease is a shadow of the mind based on disease-soaked, morbid thought imagery. You build up all the evidence supporting the healing power within, which originally created all the organs and has a perfect pattern for every cell, nerve, and tissue. You then render a verdict in the courthouse of your mind in favor of healing, thereby liberating the sick one through faith and spiritual understanding. The overwhelming mental and spiritual evidence supports this healing, and as there is but one mind, what you believe is true will manifest in the patient's experience. This procedure exemplifies the argumentative method used by Dr. Quimby from 1849 to 1869. The absolute method and its remarkable results. The absolute method of prayer treatment has gained widespread recognition for its remarkable results. This method involves focusing on the divine attributes and qualities of God, such as bliss, boundless love, infinite intelligence, powerfulness, boundless wisdom, absolute harmony, indescribable beauty, and perfection. When practicing this method, one begins by mentioning the name of the person they are praying for, such as John Jones. They then quietly and silently contemplate these divine attributes, elevating their consciousness to a new spiritual wavelength. In this elevated state, the practitioner feels the infinite ocean of God's love dissolving everything unlike itself in the mind and body of the person being prayed for. This divine power and love are believed to neutralize any issues or disturbances completely. The absolute method can be likened to modern sound wave therapy. For instance, a distinguished physician in Los Angeles demonstrated an ultrasound wave machine that oscillates at high speeds to target specific areas of the body. This machine achieves remarkable results in dissolving arthritic deposits and healing various conditions. Similarly, by rising in consciousness and focusing on the divine qualities of God, spiritual electronic waves of harmony, health, and peace are generated, leading to many remarkable healings. Dr. Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, a pioneer in psychosomatic medicine and psychoanalysis, utilized the absolute method during the latter years of his healing career. Known for his clairvoyant diagnostic abilities, Quimby could discern the root causes of his patients' ailments. One notable example from Quimby's manuscripts recounts the healing of a bedridden, elderly woman who was suffering from lameness and paralysis. Quimby identified her ailment as a result of her confined and fearful beliefs. She was deeply troubled by her literal interpretation of the Bible, which contributed to her sense of being trapped in fear and ignorance. Quimby diagnosed her condition as a stagnation of the mind due to excitation and fear, manifesting physically as paralysis. To address her condition, Quimby used a specific biblical reference, John 7 verses 33 to 34, to explain that while Jesus' presence was temporary, the real message was about the divine power within all of us. He then shifted his mental focus to the divine ideal, vitality, intelligence, harmony, and power of God functioning in the sick person. Quimby conveyed to the woman that her restricted belief system was preventing her from experiencing health, whereas he, embodying health, was free from these limitations. This mental and spiritual shift led to an instantaneous change. The woman, who had been using crutches, walked without them following Quimby's treatment. Quimby regarded this healing as one of his most significant achievements, comparing it to raising someone from the dead. He applied the concept of Christ's resurrection to her personal health, explaining that accepting this truth was like the angel rolling away the stone of fear, ignorance, and superstition. This acceptance released the healing power of God, resulting in her complete restoration. The decree method and the power of mental science. The decree method leverages the power of words combined with the feeling and faith behind them. This method is based on the understanding that the power driving the world is also working on our behalf and supporting our declarations. Thus, when using this method, there should be no mental striving, coercion, force, or mental wrestling involved. For example, a young girl successfully used the decree method to handle a persistent young man who was constantly phoning her, pressing her for dates, and appearing at her place of business. She found it challenging to get rid of him until she applied the decree method. She decreed, "I release name unto God. He is in his true place at all times. I am free, and he is free. I now decree that my words go forth into infinite mind, and it brings it to pass." It is so. According to her, the young man vanished and she never saw him again, describing it as though the ground swallowed him up. This demonstrates how the power of a decree, supported by faith, can affect change. The principle behind this is rooted in the biblical verse, "Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, and the light shall shine upon thy ways." Job 22, verse 28. Your desire acts as your prayer. By picturing the fulfillment of your desire and feeling its reality, you will experience the joy of answered prayer. Approach your goals with the ease of mental science, aiming for radiant health, success, and happiness through your thoughts. Experiment scientifically with mental techniques to prove that there is always a direct response from the infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind to your conscious thinking. Feel the joy and restfulness of anticipating the accomplishment of your desires. Any mental picture you hold in your mind is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. A mental picture, backed by faith, is powerful and can be brought to pass by your subconscious. To affirm is to declare that something is so. By maintaining this mindset as true, regardless of contrary evidence, you will receive an answer to your prayer. Generate electronic waves of harmony, health, and peace by focusing on the love and glory of God. What you decree and feel is true will manifest. So decree harmony, health, peace, and abundance in your life.